I think that's where this thing came from. Where every time we are celebrating our mothers, see people, my mother, strong woman. You know, every time it's always my mother, strong woman. And then I remember one time I made a post.
No, I just feel like if you have what it takes as a woman, nobody has to do that. Please cut yourself. You are trying.
We all have minds. If you have a mind, you can be depressed. If you have a mind, you have the propensity for depression.
If it was grace that Jesus was asking for, maybe.
Okay, maybe because of my lack of the exact choice of words, right?
Okay, so you need what you needed was help to do
exactly to do what's God.
To Dicey Matters. I'm your host for today. I am Ogunle, and with me I have Victoria. Look at how gorgeous and radiant she's looking. We have with me the ever spicy Esther, and we have a face that wasn't on the last episode. We have Mr. Jeff with us. Welcome to the show. You know, I know it's going to be an amazing show because the faces here, they are ready to spit fire. Today, we're going to be talking about something really important. It says, why am I depressed as a believer? You know, my first question would be, can you be depressed as a believer?
Yes, you can be depressed as a believer.
And
yes, you can.
Yes, you can be depressed as a believer.
It seems like everybody agrees that you can. What do you think? Write it in the comment section. Is it possible? Can you really be depressed as a believer? Is it right? That's another question. Is it right to be depressed as a believer?
Okay, so there's a misconception that depression is a sin. And then there's a validation that when you're depressed, it means that you're failing to trust God. When you're depressed, it means that you're not losing out joy and all of that. But then the reality is that depression is not a sin. Depression is an illness. Okay. You know, it's like when you have back pain and then you say, I have back pain, then I've sinned against God. Or I have headache, then I've sinned against God.
But somebody will say anything done outside of sin, out of faith is sin. Right?
Anything done outside of faith
is sin.
Do you do depression?
So like your back pain stuff, nothing.
Nothing. If you get menstrual pain too, nothing. Or if you have, I don't understand, because you have, I get you, but then, you know, depression is not a sin. So anybody can be depressed, you know, as long as you are living, you're moving, as much as you can have headache, as much as you can have back pain, you can get depressed as a believer.
All right, so I want to share with us the dictionary meaning of depression so that we are all on the same page. So it says depression, according to Merriam-Webster, an act of depressing or a state of being depressed, such as a state of feeling sad, low spirits, melancholy. A mood disorder that is marked by varying degrees of sadness, despair, and loneliness, and is typically accompanied with inactivity, guilt, loss of concentration, social withdrawal, and sleep. So, I hope everyone got that.
That definition is long.
Yes. And it's, you know, it's very deep. There are lots of sides to it.
Yes.
So let's get right into it. Okay. Depression. Auntie Esther, what can you teach us about this matter?
It's possible as a Christian that you can go to church every day, pray every day, listen to sermon. In fact, the choir can be singing all those, you know, vibe songs, and you are dancing, and you still come out of church and be depressed. In fact, the situation of this country, I don't want to say can make you depressed. People go through mental stress every day, emotional stress, heartbreak. You can be depressed, but the way you handle these things, response matters a lot. Every day we have people that are Christians, believers, committing suicide. Some people jump into the lake, into the lagoon. So depression is very real. It's not a sin that you are depressed at all, but you need to admit that you are depressed.
So that they can be solution to your problem.
So they can be solution to your problem.
All right. So, what would you say to men of God that say, "How can a believer be depressed?" Do you? Because actually, I personally know people like that. That once you say, I'm just feeling a bit down, I think I'm depressed. They're like, man of God, never, never again. Don't say that. Don't try
That's
it.
the devil.
I rebuke you. So, please, what do you have to say to those people? How do we enlighten them?
I think it also has a medical aspect.
Okay.
It's possible that somebody can be depressed from stress when they go through a lot. So let's as much as we admit the spiritual aspect, we can pray about it. But medically, please, when people have depression in church, tell them to see a therapist. In fact, I feel that it is necessary in every church to have a counselor or a counseling team. Because people are going through a lot.
Yeah, so there's this person on Jackie Hill Perry, so she says Jesus and therapy. It just came to me. So sorry.
Yeah. So it's possible that people can be depressed. Even the so-called titled men of God, people are going through a lot in their homes. People are going through divorce. There are children with single parents, single mothers. They are believers. It's not easy to train a child. It's not. Not to talk of people that have 2 children, 3 children, 4 children. So every day that we need to check ourselves. There needs to be a balance between this thing. When you feel depressed, talk to somebody. As much as you pray, open up to somebody you can confide in, not just anybody, because some people listen to get information. Yeah,
that one's another
going on in the world
topic.
today.
Hey.
A lot is going on in the world today.
Say it's not everybody you can share your matter
not everybody
with.
can share your matter with, so don't just blab to anybody.
That's
Even
always, yeah.
so-called ministers of God, I'm sorry, apologetically, but when you talk to people, please, sometimes instead of talking to men of God, go to a therapist. Admit that something is wrong somewhere. And if possible, pour out your heart, get a note, write.
Alright, so just to cut into what she said and to maybe expatiate a bit more, you are saying that, first of all, you should trust the man of God that you let, lead you as your shepherd. So you know that this person is somebody that is trustworthy, right?
Yeah.
Probably want to stay in a church that you know that this person has got you spiritually and even physically. The person isn't using you to preach the next sermon. It's possible that okay, let's not go there. It's another dicey matter. But let's focus on the people that actually need rescuing, right? So, Sir Jeff, we want you to just share a bit, enlighten the men of God or the fellow Christians that believe that a believer shouldn't be talking about something like depression. Joy always. Rejoice evermore. Again, I say rejoice.
All right. So I think I would come at it from a varying perspective. So there are quite a few things I've just gathered from the conversation. So basically, I feel like the subject of depression, the reason why people really, when we look at our society at the moment, the rate at which people are depressed is quite high, right? So when you talk to, so you see somebody post out a thing on social media, and when the person says a thing on social media, right, nobody's giving attention to that thing, right? Or somebody who, maybe does artwork or something like that, or just spoken word, nobody's really paying attention. Then the person, maybe commits suicide. Then after a while, people come up, everybody now comes up and they say, he was a very good man and all of those things. And people were like, they now begin to go back to his previous post, begin to look at it that, look at this person has been giving us signs and all of these things. So the reason why people really come at the subject of depression, especially ministers of the gospel, is that when sometimes people do not have the exact words to say how they feel, right? So when somebody is down a bit or feels that maybe needs attention in a certain way, we see people using the word depressed, and it's the way, because of how sensitive it is in the society, right? Before we use the word, before you say that you are depressed, let us know exactly what is wrong with you, right? It's something that the word depression is not something I feel like we should joke around with, that we should just, when you're just maybe down, or something like that, you just need a little encouragement, or perhaps exactly, or you're broke, you say you are depressed, right? So the problem, I feel like the reason why people sometimes do not want to pay attention to the word depression is that sometimes people do not have a proper definition to explain how they feel, right? So it's not that maybe the person is depressed. Sometimes it's just anxiety, Perhaps the person is expecting something, the thing is yet to arrive yet, is anxious about the thing, right? But in that state, begins to say that he or she, is depressed.
We actually have people that are of the opinion that depression is for those people that are in the abroad, people that have food, people that have water, light, everything is okay. It's like the world is all right, so I have to create problems, and so depression seems to be the next option. Because people say if you are really really poor and things are really doing you, you don't have time for depression. In fact, you don't even have time, because sometimes I'm guilty of this. I even say the things I'm going through now, I don't even have time to analyze my mental state of mind.
All right, sorry to interject there. So I think the conversation is not just to the society, the conversation is to the believer. Right, so when we're having this discourse, I think we should have it within the confines of the believer. Right.
Some people say that if you are in Nigeria, you don't have enough time to analyze your feelings. Imagine you are a mother of 4, you are a career woman, or you're a housewife. You have to cook, you have to clean, you have to what. In the economical state that we are in, you don't have the luxury of depression. But if you are in the abroad and everything seems to be working out, even if it's not working out great, it's fairly working out for you, you can afford to be depressed. What do you guys have to say about that? What do you think?
Well, I think if we take an inventory of the countries that are most depressed, we would see that they are the countries where we have the Western world, right? So we have more people who are depressed over there. The whole depression of a thing became evident especially Nigeria. Let's talk about Nigeria now, right? So I can say like maybe for the past 5 or 6 years. So I'm not sure it is state specific or country specific, right? We all have minds. If you have a mind, you can be depressed. If you have a mind, you have the propensity for depression.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Do you think it may be because Nigerians just started to pay attention to their mental state?
Yes,
that's why you have more people being aware.
Exactly.
Because before those other ones.
Imagine, imagine having a conversation with a Nigerian talking about a therapist in the past for like 10 years ago. Well, you begin to imagine
you
like.
Have money to waste.
Exactly. No one, even at this present age.
Yes.
Okay. The question is that how many of us have how many of you have a personal therapist?
Yes,
someone
I go for therapy.
Okay. That's all right. So.
Friends as therapists.
Okay.
Speak to them.
All right. So we don't have most Nigerians do not have that kind of conversation, right? So I guess that's the reason why we did not know, right, that there is a propensity for depression, or this is our present state of mind, or those kind of things. But any state, any country, local government, streets, depression is not a respecter of persons.
We just don't talk about it.
Yes.
Even from our parents.
Exactly.
That's the reason why a lot of our parents are broken.
And they are very angry.
Broken parents, bitter, angry, resentment,
exactly.
Just because
I was at an event yesterday, and my friend who is a therapist said something. She said, in the world today, we have many women that are broken.
Bitter.
In fact, bitter women. Majority of those of them that are depressed are bitter women. Why? There's so much pain in their bodies. There's so much pain on them. And she said something. She said, as a woman, if you know that you have what money can do for you, please let the money do it.
Okay.
Because in the process of saying I'm a strong woman, I can do this one, I can do that one. Even the one you cannot fix, you say you can fix it, you end up dying in the process. And the man will marry another wife.
I think that's where this thing came from. Where every time we are celebrating our mothers, see people, my mother, strong woman. Every time it's always my mother, strong woman. And then I remember one time I made a post, and then I said, I don't want to be known for always being the strong woman. I want to be known for the woman that exudes love.
All right. Sorry. I think okay.
Is that? Do you think there's a conditioning for depression?
I'm sorry. I'm going to forget what I wanted to say. I'm going to forget what I want to say. It's actually in line with what she said. So I think while I was having to think about this subject of depression and the whole sort of thing, right? So I think we have a close example to this in scripture. Not a state of depression, but a state whereby we can come a state where we are having to doubt perhaps maybe something that has been said to us, right? Or maybe we are having to we need more grace from God. I think I should put it that way, which is the case of Jesus at Gethsemane. right? So it was not, I'm not saying Jesus was depressed. Please don't take my words out of context. I'm only saying that it was in a state where, just confirming what she has said, right? Strong woman, strong man. Jesus, even with his being God in human form, right? He came to that state where he was weak, right? And he would go to God and was like, I need help.
Yeah.
Do you understand? You could go to God and ask for help. So, being known for, you're being known for as the strongest person in the room and the likes, right?
Yeah, but I don't think it was grace that Jesus was asking for. Maybe.
Okay, maybe because of my lack of the exact choice of words, right?
Okay, so what he needed was help to do
exactly to do what God wanted him to do.
Quite different, but let's
okay, all right.
Thank you.
No, I just feel like if you have what it takes as a woman, nobody has to know you as the strongest woman. Please cut yourself some slack. You are trying. Now this time you come, you not keep pursuing. Cut yourself some slacks. If you need to go on a vacation, if you can afford it, please go.
So as they cannot afford it now, because I saw one tweet one time where somebody was like, out of that your savings, take 700K and spend it. And I said, wow. Somebody say from where?
But wherever you are, make sure that you take care of yourself.
No, I think with what you just said, it's like normalized luxury. I saw it somewhere where it says normalized luxury. And luxury doesn't mean that you should, spend from house chores.
It's sneakers.
From house chores. If you can afford to get somebody to do your house chores for you. I mean,
please help yourself, my sister.
But is that what causes depression though? Because I feel like these things you just mentioned, the people in the abroad have it.
You know that when people stress too much and then they sit down, most of the time we sit down and think about our life. Okay. And most of the time we're the one who lose ourselves.
I think
you can afford to get somebody to do it. And then please let them do it. Don't now start thinking, how do I want to do this thing? By the time you start thinking every now and then, consciously you think, you brood.
Yeah,
but I think depression comes from trials that refine our faith in God.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a story, my story.
Okay.
Right. So I think I was 12. No, I was 11 when I started to see that I just didn't find a reason to be happy. I was a Christian. I love the Lord. I love my family, but I just didn't know why we should be happy. What's making everybody why are you people happy? What's making you happy? Because it says something about it's a mood disorder, right? I wasn't thinking about my children. I didn't have bills to pay. Of course, I had house chores, which seemed to be like the pinnacle, but basically there wasn't.
Sorry.
Then we have to,
and that's why there's the question now.
Okay.
Like
Jeff wanted to say something.
Okay, sorry. I think this is exactly what I was trying to say from the beginning. That we need to give a definition to. I'm not sure what she's saying. The example of why she was 11 and she just didn't find a reason. I'm not sure that's a proper definition to depression.
Really?
I'm not sure you were depressed.
No, children can be depressed.
Okay,
No, I'm not saying children can't be depressed, but with the example. Well, there are plethora of reasons. All right, so there are plethora of reasons why you can come into that state. And I think while you were asking for one of the reasons why we can be depressed, I think we are neglecting a very pivotal reason, and which is the fact that depression is spiritual. Right, so we are coming at it from the state of the mind and all of those things, of course, right? But there is also the spiritual implications, right, that brings about depression.
Okay, so are you about to disregard my...
No. I'm not disregarding.
It's possible that
I'm saying that there is a possibility that what you were experiencing was not depression, right? In that sense, right? It might be there might be you want to say something?
Before we can conclude on that, we do not know the situation.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Family background, even the environment.
I'm not telling you the whole story.
The negative vibe around the
Exactly.
environment.
Mind conditioning, like what's making you people happy.
That's why I said the environment.
And
probably
it's
the
something
negative.
that I struggled with for 3 to 4 years.
Okay,
And
adding more details now, can add muzzle to my knowledge that I had about it before, right? But with everything she had said before and saying that she had house chores to do and how and all of those things.
I was trying to say that I didn't have a reason because people were saying that take care of
What
yourself.
does a 12 years old have to do with house chores that's like this?
Why?
How?
Are we sure the house chores is like this?
No, I was saying like the height of my worries or the height of my challenges would be house chores or assignments or exams.
Of course, a 12-year-old, and 11-year-old can be depressed, right?
But you don't have the responsibilities that.
And that is why I'm saying that. That is why I'm saying that.
Their best to impress their parents,
and then
there's a lot of pressure
of
from
course.
parents.
As Nigerian parents,
they love to deal with.
Do you have 5 heads when your mate
You will soon become a Nigerian parent in the next 10 years. We'll see how you do it differently.
That's the reason why I said that's the reason why I said a lot of parents are broken.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of parents are broken. And then
take therapy before you.
When you suggest therapy now, somebody like my daddy now, you suggest therapy to you say me. I'm not gonna sit in front of somebody.
Yeah, that's why I said you need to admit that you need therapy.
You need help.
How many Nigerians do you think will admit they need help? These are the issues.
Yeah,
well, I don't think anybody is willing to say I need help. Even marriage counseling.
You were talking about men of God. You were talking about men of God that are depressed. There are a lot of men of God out there that are depressed, but they cannot. I don't know. Probably they don't speak out.
People picture them as
perfect.
No. Sorry. Okay, sorry. I think I can speak from that angle because of the privilege that's
the man of God.
no, it's not as the man of God, but at least having associates with fellow men of God and the likes. So I think that the problem is that most times members, I don't know. Sorry. So sometimes the congregation often, they want pastor, they are looking for maybe a pastor that can come sit down with them and say that, you know what, this is what I'm facing and all of. And the truth is that pastor will not come up to say those kind of things. But the truth is that is why, as a minister of the gospel, right, you have your own association of fellow men of God, right, trusted friends who you can have a conversation with, right. So I remember a few weeks ago, right, a friend called me, an old friend, a senior friend, he called me. I'm not even sure he should be having that conversation with me, right? But he began to speak out, tell me about it, and he was just pouring out his heart onto me. And the things that he was speaking about were similar to the things I was experiencing at the time also. So I was able to relate with what he was saying, right? So I'm just trying to say that it's not as the men of God do not talk or they do not speak. Any man of God that is trying to form strong and is not speaking, is not when he needs help or when she needs help, right? So and is not saying and speaking forth or sharing things, right? It only shows that the person does not really understand what ministry is all about. Ministry is a whole lot. Like it's a whole lot, right? So that is why we must guard ourselves, right? Just be around the association of people who can, who can help you, who you can share with. If all of the friends that you have around you, they are just yes men, yes sir, yes, if they are just doing yes sir to you, then you are in a big problem, right? There must be friends who like, for instance, there must be friends who can correct. For instance, some friends listening to my message and they're like, Jeff, you know what, that thing that you said over there, is not, those are the kind of friends that I should, if they're always cheering you up and they always, then there's a problem.
All right, so that's amazing. But to top or to put the icing on the cake, what is the solution to depression? Is there a solution to depression?
There is a solution to depression.
All right, sorry. I'm really sorry. She was asking a question backstage earlier on, saying that some people believe that depression is a punishment from so I don't know, maybe we can just have that conversation. I feel like it's something that I don't think
depression is a punishment from God. I feel depression is a natural thing, but then you should check it from the spiritual, physical.
Although we are pressed for time, but is there?
Depression is not a punishment from God. So if anybody feels like, oh, this person, you are depressed, you've gone to sin, you've done something secretly, it's not a punishment from God.
Somebody might say maybe David's example when he slept with Bathsheba. And then he didn't eat. And
I think there's a difference between God. That's godly sorrow. That's godly sorrow.
You see that part now, godly, and you know what? You know how God loved David. He sent somebody. He sent somebody to him.
Yeah.
That's to show you, the level at which
Yeah.
God was really interested in him. So
and that's because he came to God to admit I did something wrong.
You know, even before he admitted that he did something wrong, you know, the prophet came and
was
telling
speaking
a
in parables.
story, you know,
Was speaking in parables.
So for God to send a prophet to him, God was interested in him.
Of course.
You know, God was really interested in the
Of
fact that,
course.
okay, I am ready to, you know, I am ready to just forgive you and walk through you. And then he admitted, you know, that he had sinned, and then he was willing to do better.
Okay, so since we are going scriptural, I think we should just I'll just top it up with certain scriptures so that you know that it's really not God punishing you.
Okay.
You have God's word that, you know, says that in His presence there's fullness of joy. In His presence there is liberty. You see, with depression it seems like you are in bondage, and that doesn't seem to align with God's nature or His spirit.
You should be careful about what you listen to, who you talk to, what you take in, your belief system. Yes, your belief system. And then joy is our default setting. You have God as your father. Know that you can always come to God any day, anytime.
And you can only find joy in the presence of God.
Yeah.
And the presence of God means that every time you should always be in the presence of God. The presence of God is not literally when you go to church and then you lift up your hands, you know. That's not, you know, the presence of God should be.
Just to add to what they have rightly said, so even scripture affirms that, you know, God was saying that, the apostle John was saying that I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospers. So there's a prosperity in the soul first, right? So God is interested in, you know, the prosperity of our soul. He wants us to be in the right state of mind, because you must understand that the reason why we are flesh or we are human is that, you know, we have three components: the spirit, you know, the soul, and the body, right? So even our soul must be in the right frame of, you know, of things so that it can function maximally, right? And so there was something I was going to say that I think I'm forgetting now. Right, but God just wants us to, you know, prosper in our mind, right? He wants us to be in the right state of mind. Okay, yeah. So I think also I should add this, that sometimes as believers we tend to like want to focus on a whole lot of, you know, we read the books by Kenneth Hagin, we know Watchman Nee, we know this person, we know that person, but sometimes we read books like Joyce Meyer because we feel like they are, and these are books that deals with the mind. You know, you see her writing books like Battlefield of the Mind, you know, books that will challenge your mind, help you to be in the right state of mind, right? That woman has gone through a whole lot, and I feel like presently in the body of Christ, she's like the perfect person that, you know, can address this issue, at least to the best of my understanding at the moment. I might be wrong, right? So I feel like don't let's just focus on books by, you know, how to enter portals, how to do upper room, and, you know, you want to dance with angels, you want to do all of those things.
You are actually answering the question. You are giving me solutions to depression.
Yeah.
You need to read books.
Of course.
Feed your mind with the right things.
For instance, with me, I had to get my walk right with God. So I had to start giving my mind.
I think we should go personal with our personal. How were we?
So for instance, me, it wasn't something that was my active input, right? So I would go to church and I'll be so happy to be there. But the moment I walk out, it's like that covering leaves me, and then I'm just back to square one.
I
and
feel
then
that
the
outside
darkness.
of the church, make sure that you're happy.
So no, I had to learn that I had to actively commune with God.
Yes.
Throughout my day, be intentional to know that I'm in His presence. And actually, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty, there is fullness of joy. And if you have the Spirit of God with you at every point in time, then you experience that joy at every point in time. Now, does that mean that you can be a spiritual person and still forget to take your joy? Because there's that song, it says never lose your joy. Joy is a fetcher, right? It's possible to lose the joy because you're like focused on the things that you can see.
The positive things.
I think that's how much we can take for today. Thank you so much for being on the show, on this episode. Any last remarks, please? Microseconds. One.
Well. In all that you do, make sure that you're truly happy. Make sure that you find joy from within, and also around you. Focus on things that give joy.
Yes, I'm so sorry. That reminds me, Philippians 4:8, right? You know, things that are lovely. It says
Things
Set
that
your
are good,
mind.
things that are noble, things that are right.
Set your mind,
and then
because Pastor, what's his man's name, was saying that you can actually set your mind on these things. What you said was truly beautiful.
So for me, like we said earlier, depression is not a sin, and depression is not a punishment from God.
Yes.
So, and you can come out of depression first by prayer. You know, when we focus on the spiritual part, when you pray, you know, for help, when you pray for help, then you can also reach out to people. You can also go for therapy, and then you focus on the positive. Like for me now, going out of depression, there were times that I was depressed, like really depressed, and then people would look at me, oh yeah, spiritual person, you know, everything is right, everything is going on perfect in our life. But me, I was dealing with depression, and then suicidal thoughts came and all of that. So, and then I had to see the things that I listened to, the music. I had to stop listening to a number of songs. I deleted Netflix. I had to stop watching some movies. I blocked some people from Instagram. I had to stop seeing some celebrity or some post and all of that. You understand? So I was intentional about it. And then I spoke to somebody. I went for a therapy section. And then, of course, with the help of God, I was able to come out of that.
Yeah, so for me, I wouldn't say that maybe I have come to that state where I can say that I feel like we crescendo into depression, right? I don't think it's just something that just happened, you know, in just one day, right? So I feel like there are a series of experiences that leads to that. So what I do is that I'm being careful of, you know, once I see that exactly, once I see that I'm coming to these states, right? I know what to do, you know, not to enter, you know, into the ditch. So permit me to use that word, right? So one of the things I do is, number one, I speak with people, and one of the foremost things that I do, right, which has worked for me several ways, is that and I would actually suggest that people do this also, right, talking to God, right? So sometimes we often keep prayers to just you know, come, you scabash, you scatter everywhere. Sometimes the best way to pray is just to come, you just talk. So what I do is that exactly. So sometimes what I just do is that I go to a church, for instance, nobody, just myself in the church alone, pick up a chair, set another chair before me. I tell God, sit down. We want to have a conversation, right? Just imagine that God is seated there. Then all of those talk, I pour out my heart. Like I've been in that state severally where I'm weeping profusely, just myself and God alone. You know that song by Dunsi, say, "Leave me at the altar with my Father." You know where you experience that, and it's just you and God, and I pour out my heart a whole lot. I tell Him all of those things, and like severally, almost every time, by the time I'm leaving there, it's almost as though the burdens have been lifted, right? So if we look at, for instance, look at this hymn, "What a Friend We Have in Jesus," you know, all because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. So if, like, don't let us undermine the place of talking to God. Like, there's a whole lot that happens to us when we just come before God and just, you are not scabashing, you are not saying ratata, leave, don't tatata. Just go to God. Speak English. This is what I'm facing. Pour out your heart, and you'll be surprised how that would help out.
That was amazing. Thank you guys so much for this session. I'm sure that each and every one of our listeners, our viewers, have been truly blessed. You can be depressed as a believer, but you know that there is definitely a way out for you. And if you would only fix your eyes on God's word, set your mind on the things above, you find yourself overcoming every time. Thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe, comment, you know, in the comment section. I will see you on the next episode. Bye. Bye.